Welcome to Life and DNA with Amanda Renee. I'm so glad you joined me today. Let's get started. Hey everyone, welcome to Life and DNA with Amanda Renee. You'll have to bear with me today. I'm trying something a little new, and I'm trying to also make a video for YouTube so I can start my YouTube channel. So I'm trying that out today. We'll see how this goes. I do not like being on camera at all. So today's Tuesday, so DNA Day, and I wanted to kind of maybe wrap up the family mystery that I've been working on with finding Walter's parents. And Walter was my husband's maternal great-grandfather. So when I last left on here, I was trying to separate the DNA matches into certain families, trying to find common ancestors that I could narrow down my search. When I started seeing two distinct sets of families, then I turned to the Watto tool, the what are the odds tool on DNA Painter. And I am not great at using that tool. I am trying to work on that. That is something that is a goal of mine to get down, because apparently it is something that genealogists use a lot to figure out things like this. So it is my goal to get better with that tool. But I tried that, and it came up with that the people I thought were his parents were a possibility, or one of their siblings. So I went on, there's a Facebook group I'm part of called DNA Detectives, and I asked for someone to kind of check my work, and a lady, very nice, wonderful help, she helped me, and she checked my work, and she said I was definitely on the right track. She said she would double check that I didn't have the parents reversed, and kind of narrow down, make sure it wasn't any of their siblings. And so I did all of that, and I would say 99.9% sure I have the right father. The mother was down to two sisters, and the woman helping me, she just said, based off of the probability and how things usually go, she thinks it would be the younger sister. But I found some newspaper articles and some things that made me believe it's the older sister, and I'll tell you about that in just a second. So I was really excited to be on the right track. We were on, when I was talking to this lady and messaging back and forth, we're on our way down to Texas to see one of my cousins, and I was so excited. Of course, nobody around me is very excited, hence why I try to talk about it on here. I'm trying to find my people that'll be excited with me. And I need to get in touch with Walter's two remaining daughters that are alive, and let them know what I found. I have not gotten their addresses and phone numbers from my in-laws yet, and I need to do that. So while I was researching the sisters, I came across an article. Now, if you've been listening to the previous videos, you'll remember in the newspaper articles talking about Walter being found, he was left on a train as a baby, left in a basket, and the people on the train said that they remembered seeing a woman, well dressed, around 25 years old, wearing lots of diamonds, which seems kind of odd that a woman, if she was that well to do, why is she leaving a baby, on a train? And in her note said, help a poor mother out, and she's wearing all these diamonds. So researching the two sisters, I found one, the older sister was around 25 years old when this happened. So there's one tick in her favor. And two, I found several newspaper articles dated from a year or two before she had Walter, that she was kind of part of a little scandal, and it was all in the newspaper. Apparently, she had been engaged to this man, and during the engagement, he had given her several pieces of jewelry, lots of them diamonds. And it turns out, I guess, one, he was married. He had told her he was married, but they were in the process of a divorce. So the rings were kind of like a promise for him to go get the divorce and come back and marry her. Well, he disappeared, and then one day, in one of the articles, it said one day she was walking down the street, and all of a sudden she sees him, and she's like, "Why didn't you tell me you were back in town?" And turns out his name wasn't what he had told her originally that it was, and he had run off to a different state, Utah, I believe, and got married to someone else, to a third person. And now he wanted the jewels back. And she was like, nope. So she was a little feisty. She even went to court. He had lawyers come and try to threaten her, and she was like, she wasn't having it. So that would have put her in possession of lots of diamonds. And so, to me, that's two ticks in the older sister's favor. I really believe that it was her. So, super excited to figure out. I have been in contact with someone from the father's family, and they talked to their mom and either grandmother or aunt, and they said that kind of sounds on par for the course with him. I guess he must have been a ladies' man when he was younger. I have not gotten in contact with anyone on the mom's side of the family yet. I am still trying and still hoping that somebody will get back with me. I would just love to see pictures, see if there's family resemblance there. I don't really want anything from them, but if they had pictures they would share, that would be awesome to share with the rest of the family. Stories about them, even to know kind of how they were and what they were like. Those are just things that I am curious about personally, and some of the older members of the family might be as well. The other thing that showed me I'm definitely in the right family on the mother's side. In the newspaper article, the one that quoted the note the mother left in the basket, so that she named him Clarence Albert. And I knew if she's going to take the time to write that name, then it had to mean something to her. And in researching this mother's family out, there was a cousin of hers named Clarence Albert. And so I think he was about 10 years older than her. I'm very close to a cousin of mine that's about 10 years older than me. We were very close growing up. So I could definitely see if she's found herself pregnant and she's close to this cousin, naming her son after him, especially if she's never really going to see him again. So I knew for a fact when I saw that, that was probably the thing I was the most excited about, was finding that name and where it came from, because I knew it had to mean something to her. She wouldn't just pull it out of thin air. And I knew her parents, it wasn't her parents' name. So I was very excited to find that. So now that I knew who these people were, and I'm trying to dig, kind of branch their families out. I like to trace family lines as back as I can just back far as I can go. The mothers, I can go pretty far back. The fathers, his grandfather, I cannot find anything on him past a certain point. And I'm wondering if that's where the third set of DNA matches that the set that I can't place, if they come in there somewhere. If there was, maybe that wasn't the name he was born with, because I can't find any census records for anything before him or before he was like in his 30s or 20s. So either he came from another country, but all of the census records say he was born, I believe, in Ohio. But when you put where your father was born, he always says on the ocean. So I don't know if he was sailing, his parents were sailing over, and then his mother was born in another state. So that is a mystery I'm still trying to solve, but because it's so far back, it's extra hard to figure out. But now that I knew who Walter's parents really were, aside from being very curious about what they were like, what they looked like, just a lot of other questions kind of come to mind. Like, how did they meet? From everything I've seen, I believe she worked for an optometrist or something like that. She worked somewhere that sold glasses and did eye exams. She worked someplace like that. I can't remember where he worked at the time. So I'm just curious how they met. Were they madly in love but didn't work out? Or did she get pregnant and he take off? Or was it something, I don't want to even go that it was something, nefarious, but was it just like a one night stand? She had been engaged before. Maybe she liked being engaged. I don't know. These are all questions I have. And why leave him on a train? I've never understood that. Why would you? She even specifically said in the note, she picked a train headed to St. Louis. She wanted him to be in the St. Louis home. Why? She didn't live too far from there. She still lived in Missouri. So I'm curious why there, and why leave him on a train in a basket to be discovered like that. And she spent the night on the train with him. So I'm always curious, as a mom myself, to give up your child, to know this was your last night with your child, like, was that hard for her? Or had she already, like, made her heart harden to it? And, I don't know. How'd she keep the baby quiet? That's always what's curious to me, because nobody had a clue that there was a baby with her, based off the interviews in the newspaper articles. So that just always, it kind of bothers me that she would leave him on a train like that. But maybe there weren't a lot of options. I don't know. A single unwed mother, very early 1900s, that would have been, very taboo back then. In researching Walter being left on a train, I have come across several other articles about babies being left on trains or in train stations. And I want to go back and look at some of the dates on that, because I do remember 2 or 3 of the articles saying specifically that the woman was dressed nice. And I'm curious I don't want to believe this about, his mother, but is it possible that she did this? Like, this is something that she just did? Maybe she was promiscuous and they didn't really have birth control like that back then, so maybe she had multiple babies that she gave away, and so she tried different ways of doing it, because some of the articles where, the mother said she needed to use the ladies' room, and she asked, an older motherly person to hold her baby for her, and then she just left. Or is it just a coincidence that the person was nicely dressed? I don't know. But that makes me curious. And it would be something I would like to dig in further. So, I'm still trying to find out more information on, that family. But that was what I found and discovered in the family mystery. And I'm so excited that I solved it. That's what I want to do, like professionally someday. And I would love to do that all the time, because I always kind of liked solving mysteries. But, that one was really fun, especially because it had such a personal tie with my husband's family. It's been really fun. And I need to get a hold of the older members of the family and kind of let them know what I've found. So I will start talking about a little bit of my family for a while and put this aside, since we know who the parents were. And I, even though my family's not super exciting, there wasn't a lot of mysteries, but my family has a lot of interesting people in it. I can trace my family pretty far back on several sides. So that's what I'll be talking about coming up in the weeks ahead. On a side note, my husband and I went to an Oktoberfest party this past weekend with my sister and my brother-in-law. We even talked to them. I posted pictures on my Instagram page, but we got my sister and my brother-in-law to dress up in costumes with us. And my sister at first was very self-conscious. She did not want to do this, but the rest of us were getting dressed up, so she thought she would try it. And by the end of the night, she was so happy she did. She had so much fun. We went to, it was a local brewery throwing the Oktoberfest in Edmond, where they live, and there was supposed to be a costume contest, and it went from like 12 noon to 12 at night, and we just went for a couple hours at around 5, but we were the only ones dressed up. So that was interesting. I thought it would be more like Oktoberfest was in Tulsa last year, where, almost everybody was dressed up. But, no, we were the only ones. But it was fun, because just seeing the different reactions was fun. And then we decided to go to a place where a band was playing after that. And we knew we would be the only ones dressed up there, because they weren't having a party or anything. And it was funny because, everyone turned and looked when we first walked in. But everyone loved it. Like, people came up and talked to us the whole night because of it. And complimented us, or, laughed about it. And then another group came in. They had been dressed up. I guess there was some kind of Rocky Horror Picture Show performance somewhere else in town, and they showed up, and so we talked to them a little bit. And then apparently there was a Greek festival. They weren't dressed up, they were just in t-shirts, but they came and talked to us too, and they thought that was funny. So that was fun. The other thing I want to mention today, during my lunch break between school with the kids, I watched the show Finding Your Roots on PBS. Well, I watch old reruns of it because I'm caught up. But it always surprises me. I'm always researching things, on Ancestry, or I'll get on a kick of something to research. But I love watching that show because it makes me refocus, and like the different stories that they uncover just in the simple things like you find in a census, or just some of the things you can find on Ancestry, and they, tell a story around it. And my thing when I'm on Ancestry, typically, unless I'm solving something specific, I typically just want to follow the line as far back as I can get it. I like to see my trees branch way out. And I always try to see, okay, can I find this person that I couldn't find before? Can I find their parents? And I don't really stop and think about really what their life was like, what time period were they in. Like, I have multiple relatives that fought in different wars and different things like that. My own great grandfather on my dad's mom's side got a Purple Heart from World War I, and no one in the family knew it. He died before I was born. He died when my dad was little, and they didn't give Purple Hearts. Then it was given to him like retroactively later on, but because of the circumstances around his death, he had remarried, and that wife didn't give my grandma or her siblings any of my great-grandpa's things. So nobody in the family even knew that he got a Purple Heart. I mean, my grandma has dementia, so if she knew, she never told us, and she never told any of her kids. So I don't even know that she knew. And that makes me kind of proud of him. That was pretty cool, because he was injured in the line of duty in World War I. He was a gunner. And I don't know, so watching that show made me want to kind of go back, look at his family. Why did he, because I think he's the first one on his side to come to Oklahoma. I think. I need to research that and kind of find that out. But it's those little things, and it makes me I want to put together a scrapbook for each line of the family, for me and for my husband, just to pass on to our kids things. But I would like to do kind of like they do on that show, where it's almost like a little scrapbook, but I would like to have all the information about certain relatives, where they were from, if I can figure out why they came over. I really, really wish that I would have started all of this when my grandparents were alive, so that I could ask them. My grandma, I have one grandma left, and but she doesn't remember a whole lot. But I would have loved to have asked. I could have a million questions to ask my grandparents. I do have a book from my mom's side that her cousin put together that has a ton of information I reread it every so often because it's just so interesting. But I will be talking more about them and those sides of my family in upcoming episodes. So be looking for that. It's not as mysterious as my husband's side of the family, but it's still fun to research. I've learned a lot about my family that I never knew. My mom was originally from Iowa, but her stepdad was Air Force. We live near an Air Force base here, and so he was stationed down here. She met and married my dad and stayed here. My grandma went back to Iowa eventually. So we didn't visit Iowa a lot growing up, and so I don't know a ton, about my roots there, and they're pretty deep roots from what I've studied so far. Like, they go back to that same county in Iowa pretty far back, and so, I still have cousins and an aunt that live up there, and I plan on taking my kids to go up there and see it. My son's never been, and my daughter was like 2 the last time we went, that she got to go. So I do want to go up there and see what my cousin and my aunt remember, and just go the different places that my grandma had taken me when I was younger. And I will try and document all that whenever I get to do that, because that would be fun. But that was all I have for today. And next week, let's see, Thursday, I will be talking about getting organized in life. Something I'm still a work in progress on, as my husband can attest, but I'm better than I used to be. And I'm going to talk about kind of how I got organized and what's helped me the most. And then next week, I will start talking about the different branches of my family. So stay tuned. Thank you for joining me today on Life and DNA with Amanda Renee. I'll talk to you Thursday. Bye.